guess let's get started. Let's begin this meeting with the pledge to the flag.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United
of the United
States
States of America
and to the republic
for
which it stands,
stands
one
one
nation,
nation under God,
nation,
indivisible, with
liberty
liberty,
and justice
liberty,
for all.
justice for all.
Will the village clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Andino.
Present.
Trustee Lang.
Present.
Trustee Howell.
Present.
Trustee Lee.
Present.
Mayor Luisi.
I am present, and obviously we are operating under the Zoom application due to the COVID-19 virus. This meeting is closed to the members of the public. However, they do have the ability to watch this meeting live online through the Zoom app. I believe, David, you put up all that login information not too long ago.
Yep.
And we are accepting public comments via email to David Burke. His email address is dburke@tuckahoe-newyork.com. And then those emails will be distributed to the board. The tentative budget that the board is currently working on for the fiscal year 2020 through 2021 can also be accessed on the Tuckahoe website. And with that, I know we have Senator Shelley May here joining us. So, Senator, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to the members of the board for letting me come by through Zoom. I just wanted to do two things very briefly, and let me turn my phone off, and I'll be brief. One, I wanted to brief the members and on some of the aspects of the budget that was adopted at the end of March that affect some of the issues that the village cares about, I believe, and also to speak briefly about some of the COVID issues that I've been dealing with, because I want to make sure you know what I'm working on, and I obviously want to be as responsive as possible. So I appreciate the opportunity. I want to start on the budget. I'll be brief, but let me go through a few things. AIM, which I was very fearful was going to be cut. When we found out the state was going to have a $10 billion budget shortfall this year, was flat. So flat in this context, unfortunately, is deemed a victory. So the AIM money that Tuckahoe receives from the state remains the same. The foundation aid for the school district remains the same. That was only because we were able to fill in the gap of the cut that was proposed by using the money from the Federal CARES Act, so that every school district in the state, certainly those in Westchester, got the same amount of foundation aid that they had last year. Of course, that's not enough, but in the context of what we were facing, that we viewed that as a small victory, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and also that was really only because, and it's directly shows on the school run, we put the governor and we worked together to put that money in for the place of the cut that would have been made, which was called the pandemic adjustment. Not a very good name. I had met with the board about the criminal justice reforms, and there were a lot of very thoughtful comments made. I think a lot of them were adopted in the changes that we made to the bail and discovery issues. I want to thank the chief and the whole board for having such a constructive conversation that I certainly took to heart. We did make some changes. I'm going to go through them. I think to me, they are common sense, modest changes that reflect some of the things that were not addressed appropriately in the other bill. So one is we added offenses to the existing pool of bail eligible offenses. And you may remember that was the big issue. Certainly a number of domestic violence offenses were added back in, bail jumping, burglary in the second degree if it involves entering a living space, sex trafficking, I'm just picking out some, aggravated vehicular assault or any crime resulting in the death of another person, for example, vehicular assault that results in a death, and a very important one that the chief and others brought to attention, and I heard it from many chiefs, is the additional repeat offender. So if a person is charged with a felony or a misdemeanor that involves offense against person or property, like breaking into a car, is released because the crime is not bail eligible, and then does it again, which is a condition, something we discussed in our Tuckahoe meeting, on the second charge, the person becomes bail eligible. In addition, the judge has more conditions to issue upon release. They can require an order of protection, counseling. Obviously, we need resources for that. The other thing is on discovery, which was the issue that you were concerned about because of the overhead and overtime and the use of resources to comply. The vehicle and traffic law and municipal code offenses, which were captured in the original law, that is now changed, so discovery is not due until 15 days before trial instead of at the initial onset. And all other automatic discovery is extended from 15 days after arrest to 35 days after arrest if the defendant is released, and 20 days if the defendant is remanded. And there's an additional 30 days for voluminous materials such as video footage, which you remember came up in our meeting because of body cams and cameras around town. That gets an additional 30 days automatically. And then there's automatic protective orders for 911 callers and for witnesses, victims of sex crimes, sex trafficking, and criminal enterprises. That was the fear that people's personal information would be made available to the defendant and the defendant's attorney. $40 million was set aside outside the city of New York for towns, villages, and cities to apply for some of the costs that you bear as a result of this discovery changes, also the DAs. And the DCJS, the Division of Criminal Justice Services, is going to issue guidance. But I think these very much reflect what I believe was our conversation in Tuckahoe. I had a similar conversation in Bronxville. We met with chiefs throughout the county, as well as the police unions, and as well as, ordinary constituents. And I think this is a very good common sense step that addresses many, if not all, the issues that were raised. Another thing in the budget that affects Tuckahoe because of the Bronx River Parkway is enhanced penalties for commercial vehicles on parkways and for overheight vehicles. So both there's no weight classifications and expanded monetary penalties for heavier vehicles and for taller vehicles. Lastly, in terms of the big budget things that I'm going fast because you have your own meeting, e-bikes and e-scooters outside the city of New York were made lawful. E-bikes that go faster than 20 miles an hour may not be used outside New York City, and they're not allowed on any road with a speed limit above 30 miles an hour. So we're really talking about, villages and towns that can allow these e-bikes and electronic scooters. A municipality like a village may enact time, place, and manner restrictions, but we're trying to incentivize the county, which has the ability to make a county law so that people can travel from Bronxville to Tuckahoe and to Yonkers without having different rules all over the place. Mm-hmm. So to the extent we can have consistency, we added a provision there to encourage the county to adopt a single law that hopefully you would be, that would be negotiated and everyone would be on board with. So that does not become effective until September 30th of 2020. So I really went quickly through the budget, which is a big deal, and we were able to do it on time. Obviously, facing this $10 billion debt deficit at the same time we were dealing with coronavirus made it hard to reach resolutions on everything. Some things we didn't. I think we talked about marijuana that never made it in at the end. Just as happy for me. I want to switch for a minute to some of the COVID-19 issues that my office has been dealing with from the beginning. And we're very much on the ground helping individual constituents with problems. I think you may hear some of them, and you should feel free to refer people to my office. But we are very much taking it seriously that our job is to respond to every person, whether by phone, email, or I call them back, or my staff does. So the first one was testing. People wanted it, they couldn't get it. There wasn't enough. We're still fighting for more testing sites in Westchester, particularly in southern Westchester. You see the numbers in Yonkers, it's huge. We want testing sites, and I think we may get some. PPE across the board. We get calls from doctors at Lawrence Hospital. We get calls from home care providers, group homes. We work very well with the county and the state trying to get what people need. Police and fire have come to us as well. The system is not perfect. There's not enough supplies. They've prioritized, but people who want and need or are required to have PPE, including people that work in stores, we are trying to help them. Unemployment is a huge issue for us. The problem with the state DOL website was very severe until last Friday. We've been personally intervening on behalf of people. Now they are calling people back, and we're trying to make sure that everyone who submitted an application gets a call back. It will be backdated to the date that you were unemployed, but that being said, it's very frustrating not to be able to file the claim. People were calling hundreds of times a day.
Mhm.
We're trying to help people with the federal stimulus, the $1,200 payment that families are supposed to get, plus additional for a child, the additional $600 in unemployment insurance, and the SBA loans, the small business loans that all of our businesses, I can just think of all of Tuckahoe, of places that desperately need it. And we've had some challenges getting banks to work with us. And we've been working with Senator Schumer's office to try to push banks that are supposed to participate and to do it quickly, but it's a work in progress. I did do a town hall generally. I did a town hall in Spanish. I'm doing a town hall for the deaf and hard of hearing community. I did another town hall for Portchester business people, small businesses. So anything I can do to make sure business owners, small business owners know what's available, please don't hesitate to ask me. We had a lot of questions about what was an essential business. You remember that with the landscaping, golf, and we've been involved in that. We obviously, and I'm sure you do, have many undocumented workers who are not eligible for unemployment, who don't have any reserve of funding. We're trying to help them mostly with getting food, making sure that Feeding Westchester gets food out to whoever needs it. Obviously, payment of taxes, people are worried, even when the date was pushed back. They're also worried about property taxes. Village elections, as you know, were postponed until after June 1st, but no new date. Amy and I spoke to the governor's office today about that, and we hope to have a further conversation tomorrow because it would be helpful to you if you had a date certain, I'm sure. And with the use of absentee ballots, that you had enough time for people to apply for them, because the governor said that everyone can apply, but we want to make sure there's an adequate window. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I just wanted to go through what we're doing to make sure that people know my office is totally available to help with the full range of issues that people have. And, we want to make sure that Tuckahoe, from a state point of view, comes out the other side. I just would mention, Mr. Mayor, and I know you know this, that, we have allocated capital for upgrades to the bathroom, to the community center and library.
Yes.
And resurfacing and fencing upgrades at the basketball court at Fisher Avenue Park. We're proceeding with those and just hope that nobody takes that money that was allocated.
Yes.
It's capital, so it's not operating. So I think it's less of a fear. But in the budget, the governor does have the power to claw back appropriated funds for everything, school, health, everything, if it turns out that the state's collections are significantly below their projections. So we're trying to protect against that. And we are trying to get additional federal money for the state, for municipalities, and for school districts, and for colleges and universities. that's something I'm very much focused on.
Thank you, Senator. And on behalf of the residents of Tuckahoe, I thank you for all your work, especially in securing the AIM funding and that funding for the schools. It's very important. So
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. And among all dealing with the virus as well. So
Yeah, I know. It's terrible, and it's really had an effect in Eastchester and Tuckahoe. And
mhm.
I want to be sure that we also recognize and acknowledge, and we're working on this to make sure that every person's life who is lost is recognized by government and treated seriously.
Yes. It's interesting, not to deviate off the subject, but I know that the governor in his daily briefing always makes reference to 9/11, the lives lost, which I don't understand. I don't understand why he makes that connection. But I think what was more significant is in terms of 9/11, the New York City Police Department has lost 23 police officers to the virus, which is the number they lost on 9/11.
Oh, I didn't
To
know.
me, that's a significant number.
Yeah. Well, they all of these police, fire, health, all these first responders themselves really struggle with this. It's very difficult to come up with the answer. I mean, we watch the governor's press conferences every day, just like everybody else. We never know anything in advance. And then we do have a nightly call with the governor's staff to bring up issues that are relevant to Westchester, myself and the other Westchester legislators together with the county executive. So I'm happy to answer any questions, Mr. Mayor, or
Thank you.
anything that people want to ask. And also people should offline feel free to let me know if there's anything I can do.
Sure. If you'd like, Senator, if you'd like to put your, if you'd like to just announce your email address or your contact information
Yeah, sure.
for residents that are on the Zoom.
Yeah, sure. So my email is smayer, M-A-Y-E-R, @nysenate.gov. And my office phone number is, although we're not there, we answer 914-934-5250.
Great, thank you. Does any of the board members have any questions, comments that they'd like to make? No?
Just reiterate all the thanks for all your efforts across the board.
No, thank you. My pleasure. I look forward to being in the Tuckahoe race. When can we get to that? I got to practice to be able to run this year.
Oh, gosh, please don't bring it up because then they'll make me prepare.
Sorry, Omira. Sorry for you.
So we hope by that time that we can, afford a density of 400 people.
Yes, me too.
That's what we have to do.
We'll wait and see. But seriously, anything that people need, or if you have constituents who need help on these issues, please don't hesitate to send them my way.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Be safe.
Bye, you too. All
Bye-bye.
be safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Greg, we do have the county executive is on.
Yes, I see, and I see Damon Moore is also on.
Yes. I mean, you can see Damon, but you can't see the county.
I
No,
look a lot better when you can't see me.
that's my lines, George. All right,
Okay,
George,
let's share it, Greg.
County Exec, the floor is yours, sir. Thank you for joining us tonight. Taking time
Well,
out
thank
of
you
your
very much,
busy
Mr. Mayor,
schedule.
and I appreciate it. And I'm doing 4 of these tonight, so it's the nature of the beast. When you can't go out in person, you can sit and do the phone calls. I know you've already had a detailed presentation from Shelley, and I know Damon is in the queue, so I will try my best to go fast. I'll talk like a New Yorker, right? Fast, what have you. First of all, we'll give you some numbers. Westchester County has had year-to-date or month-to-date 19,786 people test positive for coronavirus. That number, as high as it is less than Suffolk County, Nassau County, and New York City. And if you remember, when the first person got sick out of New Rochelle, Westchester was the leader in the most number of cases.
Mhm.
So while 19,000 is not a small number, we're starting to pattern now a little bit more based on our population. And we've tested countywide 59,462 people, and that's more than any of the other counties. And per capita, it's more than any other part of New York State, maybe the nation. And what that basically represents is we have a better handle on what's happening out there now than we did a month ago or 2 months, a month and a half ago when it started. Right now we have 10,460 active cases, and that means everybody who ever tested positive, and subtract from that all the people that were positive 2 weeks ago, because the virus is a 2-week situation. If you don't have a contagion, if you don't get sick after 2 weeks, seen as being free of the disease. And so you subtract the number from 2 weeks ago out of that, 9,000 and change. So we have 10,460 active. We have about 1,200 people that are hospitalized right now. That's hardly much change in the last 5 days. So by active cases and hospitalizations, we are basically flat. Like anybody, you know, we want to be able to claim we've flattened the curve. It's a little too soon to say that. For those of us all of us have had business experience, I think we want to go at least another week to make sure that this is a trend and not just a little quirk. But if we have flattened it, that's good news. We want to avoid what happened in Italy, where they had more people sick than they had hospital rooms. We have 3,000 hospital rooms in the county. Right now, if we have 1,200 hospitalized, that number is workable given our base of hospital rooms. You know that we've lost 557 people, and we've lost people that we care about, people like Glenn Bolito, who's councilman in the town, and others. But at 557 people, probably the most important factor is age. More than 50% of the people that died are 70 years and older. If you go down to 60 and older, and that would include my cohort of age, from 60 and older, you're probably closer to 75% of all the deaths. So you're looking at age as a major factor, and then the illness of the person in addition to age. So if they have other factors of things that are a problem for them, that plus age has made them more likely to be sick of COVID, and then also, unfortunately, to lose them. There's hardly anybody that we've lost under the age of 40. Almost no fatalities under 40, and a heavy population above 60 and 70. So that's the parameters. I've been keeping the mayor posted as much as we can with numbers on a regular basis for Tuckahoe, and I know that you've got 67 positive cases now. To see a number like that, that might concern you, but when you look around other communities on the overall map, the number is somewhat, in sync with the population. There's a greater density in Tuckahoe than, say, in Bronxville.
Right.
The town, the unincorporated part of the town, is 197, and that's obviously a lot larger than Tuckahoe, but I think that's a comparable number. And again, people who are tested positive are not necessarily going to be sick. They are contagious, which is why we're trying to do everything we can to, practice social distancing and all that other stuff, which is hard to do because the society has changed in the last 5 weeks pretty dramatically. Let me run through very quickly things that the county is doing, open it up to questions, and then get out of your hair. We still have our county parks open with the exception of our golf courses. I kept the golf courses open up until last Thursday. The state came out with a policy position that was a factor, and then once they came out with that information and they closed the private courses, and then they closed the state courses, we had no choice but to close the county, county courses. But we kept the other parks open. So the Bronx River Reservation, the various nature centers, the hiking trails are open. We don't believe that they contribute to the spread because people can socially distance themselves while they're at those parks. Every community makes their own decisions about what they want to do with their parks. We are a little concerned about social distancing over on Parkway Oval, near the area where you have, county land and a lot of folks there. And so we'll talk with you in a separate conversation about what we want to do with that. But in general, we don't want to close the parks. We know some people believe we should close all the parks. We don't want to do that because we think that's an important recreation. It's a mental health break. It's a physical break that some folks need as long as they practice social distancing and as long as they can go out of the house. If they're in isolation because they're positive, then they shouldn't go out of the house. But aside from that, we've turned over Glen Island, as you know, to testing. So Glen Island is closed. We're not going to be opening it for a beach anytime soon, we don't think. Picnic grounds, and that's a sacrifice on our parts, but it's also had drive-through testing, a lot of testing done at Glen Island. It was closed today because of the weather. It'll be open tomorrow. Westchester Medical Center was closed today also because of the weather. They have an area. I think they may have gotten some wind damage up there, so I don't know if they're going to be able to open tomorrow. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But we've done, as I said, more per capita testing, and that's one of the few things that we have at our fingertips because we don't have a vaccine to fight this virus, and we don't have an antiviral treatment. And, you know, I hear a lot of things about this and that. Maybe this will work and maybe that'll work. But until we have a reliable, scientifically proved vaccine and antiviral, we're working with testing, isolation, social distancing, and trying to ride out the curve as best as we can. We have our emergency operations services center in Valhalla, tasked with making orders for PPEs, personal protective equipment, and also tasked with getting hand sanitizer. The village has to go through the town to order it, so the town orders it on behalf of everything within the local community, goes up to Albany, they deliver it to Valhalla, we turn around and deliver it back to you guys, and we're trying to do that. And if there are issues that are out there about different items, then that we haven't, gotten through, we'll keep pushing it. And the mayor or the village manager can follow up on any of these requests that we have. We turned the county center over to the State Health Department. They brought in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and they are building at that location 110 hotel bedrooms. And these are not pipe and drape and there's a cot. These are solid walls, roofs created on the floor of the county center. Where we saw basketball just a month ago, those are legitimate hospital rooms that are being built. We don't know what we're going to need, but we saw what happened in Italy, that the system got flooded with too many people being sick at the same time. So we have 3,000 beds in Westchester and all of our hospitals in the aggregate. They're adding some beds. We're adding 110 so that if this thing peaks up at a certain level, that we'll be ready for it. But right now, with active cases at 10,460, that's a little less than we had 5 days ago. That's good news. The hospitalization numbers are only about 100 more today than they were 5 days ago. That's good news. If it keeps up and we flatten, we may not even use the hospital beds, but they're there to try to protect, Westchester residents that do get sick. We have made some changes to our Beeline buses. So wherever you have Beeline buses going through Depot Plaza, we have chained off the front of the bus to protect the bus driver. If the bus driver interacts with a COVID-positive patient and they get COVID, then we don't have people to drive the buses. So you have to come in the back door and exit the back door. The bus fare is free, but you are expected to show social distancing on the buses. And because the ridership is dramatically down now, we don't know how hard that will be. Hopefully, that's not a problem as we go forward. Our economic development team, Bridget Gibbons and her crew, have been getting together a group of volunteers, and they're going to work through local chambers of commerce to be able to help local business people apply for the federal programs that are out there. There's SBA programs, there's the Paycheck Protection Program. Like anytime you file for federal stuff, it can be a little complicated. So we're trying to train these volunteers, make them available. Probably by Wednesday, we'll have a game plan on how that's going to happen. We have these Monday, Wednesday, Friday municipal calls, either Greg or David are on it, and we try to reveal certain information. And on this Wednesday, hopefully, we'll have this game plan. But we know that businesses are dying out there. It's brutal. It's brutal on the individuals. It's brutal on the small businesses. It's brutal on the not-for-profits and the religious institutions, the educational institutions, and it's brutal on village, town, county governments. We're looking at a terrible financial situation that we're in now after we work so hard to try to stabilize it. But nonetheless, economic development will be there to try to help get those things done. We also, through our tourism department, got an arrangement from some of the most generous hotels around on a 10-by-10 program, 10 nights, 10 people for free. The hotels are pretty much dead empty now. So what this deal is, we'll open up free rooms for the hospital workers who are working double shifts at the various hospitals. They need to crash. They don't want to go home. They're afraid that they're going to bring the virus home in their clothing for their family. So this program matches up a hospital with a hotel, Northern Westchester Hospital and Holiday in Mount Kisco, Phelps Hospital in Doubletree in Tarrytown. There's just a medical center of Comfort Inn and also Cambridge Suites. And if that program can expand, we think that's a good, that's a good game plan to work with. There are other things to talk about, but I think I'm just going to stop, Greg. Everybody knows that there are plenty of things we have to do to work through this. We're trying to be as open as we can be. We're working with villages and towns and cities. We're working with our state delegation, our county legislators, and we'll get through it. But it won't be easy, but we'll get through it.
Thank you, George. Greatly, greatly appreciated. And same thing on behalf of the residents of Tuckahoe and the residents of Westchester County, you and your staff have done a remarkable job getting us through this. Ellen Hendricks, Steve Bass, Ken Jenkins, I don't want to omit anyone, but they're just doing a fantastic job. And
They may all be on the phone right now, as far as I know. Well, we appreciate that, Greg. If there are any questions, I'm happy to try to tackle them. If not, I know you got a long agenda, and I made it longer, and I apologize for that.
Oh, it's always good to hear that voice.
Again,
Any board members have any questions for the county exec?
look, thank you for being thorough, George.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, this is the chief. If I could just interject here with the county executive, I want to just take a moment to commend Commissioner Tom Gleason of the Department of Public Safety and his entire staff at the multi-agency communication system that they put in place. They have coordinated the efforts of all of law enforcement throughout the county. It's a huge job, the daily meetings, and everyone's been on the same page, and it's all through the commissioner and his staff's effort. And I just wanted to commend them and make sure you're aware of our appreciation.
Chief, thank you. And I'm going to make sure that Commissioner Sheriff Gleason knows of your kind comments. I'm sure he'll be happy to hear it. And the other chiefs, John Hodges and Chris Calabrese and the rest of the gang, it's very gracious of you to thank them, and we appreciate your gratitude.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else out there on the Zoom? Any questions or comments for the county exec? Okay.
Thank you, George.
There's Ken Jenkins.
Thanks
How
very
are you,
much,
Mr.
guys.
Jenkins?
Good luck, and I appreciate your time. And I guess over to Damon or whoever is next. Thank you, Greg.
Okay. Thank you, George. Take care.
Bye-bye now.
County Legislator Damon Marr, the floor is yours, sir.
Hello, how are you?
Good evening, sir.
Greg, so I was out where you usually jog out on the Bronxburg Parkway this past weekend, and it was beautiful. Lots of people out.
Yes.
We'll keep moving, we keep the social distance, and so that's a good thing. So I see my role as a county legislator at this point is trying to get out as much information as possible. I sort of we have a flood of information from the other levels of government. I try to distill it down in a form that may be interesting and applicable to people in my district. And as well, I make the rounds to the food distribution sites to see how they're working. The one at ECAP is doing great. That's staff, volunteers, and National Guard have been there. The only thing I might be missing is a little more publicity in the neighborhood around there. I'm not quite sure how we do that. For information, I'm encouraging people to sign up with, as many points of information as possible in the government. Like, you can go to Westchester County Legislators, get something from me every day or at most every other day. The other role that goes through that is kind of matching people up, matching volunteers, small businesses that need help. People want to do something for food banks, food pantries, and that can mesh with things that you do for small business. You're helping their groups, and Renee's part of a group where we're in New Rochelle, and you can do this in Tuckahoe, I suppose, as well. You buy stuff from local takeout restaurants, which there are now, and bring them to, say, hospital staff at Lawrence, or to the police department, or to the fire department, and where there's a first responder. In terms of what we're doing legislation-wise in the county, as George mentioned, there are going to be some tough decisions to be made budget-wise, because we have, and it's going to affect you guys as well, the reduction in sales tax, because people aren't getting out and buying as much stuff. A large part of sales tax is gasoline tax, and with the prices going down and people driving less, that's going to be an issue. Yet we still, go forward with capital improvements over the long term. We still got to do them. We still got to invest in roads and bridges. You see that that Main Street there was that county road was just done in the last few weeks. I think was done.
Yeah, and it looks great.
Talk about one silver lining. It was done, when there was less traffic. So I think it made it go on faster. The one piece of legislation that's coming up, it's sort of, just slightly predated all the shutdowns, is a bill I'm sponsoring to eliminate exotic and wild animals from circuses in Westchester. So there'd have to be modification in the circus that's been coming for years, or a different circus would have to come in with more live human acts, which are even more incredible if you look at them. The problem is that the abuse of the animals is rampant in these traveling shows, things we never knew as a kid. We didn't know that was going on, and you didn't know as much about animals as we do now, how they are indeed sentient beings and can feel and have emotions and be fear, and that sort of thing. And the circus came to town this year. County had sort of been talking about lighten up on the animal acts, and they doubled down. They brought in these so-called white tigers, which people are interested in. They go just go online and see under the white tigers, or they can go watch the show that everybody's watching on Netflix now. This
Yes. Oh,
Tiger
yeah.
King show. So you watch that and you say, oh no, how can this happen? And the training is the same for circuses, or even worse, because they have to get them to do things that are not natural to these.
That's right.
And so that's about it. To say, try to get out and about to find out things on the ground as well. And if people have questions, suggestions, I get suggestions from people with science backgrounds as well, and computer and business backgrounds that talk about how we can do better. And we send those up the line as far as they'll go to people who can make decisions. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Okay. Thank you, Damon. Any of the board members have any questions for County Legislator Moore?
No, just thanks again for all the good work.
Anybody in the out on the Zoom app have any questions for County Legislator Moore? Okay. Looks like an easy night for you, Damon.
Well, the other thing I'd point out too, that there are going to be other issues that are going to, with the slow down in the flow of money, and for example, like day laborers and domestic workers not being able to work. We have to anticipate, ramping up more on the food distribution and thinking about housing issues people may have. And that's really, a social services issue. That would be a question those would be questions that go to county government. I have
Right.
folks in the office who help, one person at a time or groups of people. That's really kind of the place to start for the right referrals on issues involving that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I thank the Senator, County Legislator, and the County Exec for taking time out of their busy schedules to come in and talk to us tonight. So with that, I'm going to move on to onto the business at hand. We're going to talk about public hearings. Public hearing number 1 is the consideration of a proposed local law prohibiting the sale of electronic nicotine delivery products in the village of Tuckahoe. That hearing is still open. I would like to make a motion to postpone the hearing for tonight. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second. Trustee Andino.
In favor.
Trustee Lang.
In favor.
Trustee Howell.
In favor.
Trustee Lee.
In favor.
Mayor Luise.
In favor. And that'll bring us to the second public hearing of the evening, which is really the meat and potatoes of why we're all here tonight. And that is to consider the tentative budget for fiscal year beginning June 1, 2020. through May 31, 2021. This public hearing will also continue at a special meeting, which will be held on April 20th. But tonight is the first night that we're opening this public hearing. I guess before I solicit comments, I'll ask either David Burke or our treasurer, Ryan Rueda, to give us an overview of the upcoming budget, please.
Sure, Mayor, I'll give you a quick update. The tentative budget per law, New York State law, was filed on March 20th. March 20th does seem like a long time ago as of right now. The tentative budget calls for a 2.55 property tax levy increase. And that is tax cap compliant. One of the questions is that I thought there was a 2% property tax cap. There is, however, we have something called the tax-based growth factor, which is actually 0.75%, which doesn't sound significant, but it really is. So when you look at the tentative budget itself, increase in the property tax rate itself is only 1.8%. So on a home valued at $7,500, obviously we're not full value, it's around a $78 increase year over year. So real property tax in the tentative budget is proposed at an increase of 1.8%. The budget obviously was filed in March. It did, as I said, it seems like a world away where a lot has changed in the last month, but it seems to be a budget that I think we can work with. So we're looking to hear some of the comments. So tonight is going to be the first portion of the public hearing. Obviously, as the mayor said, it will be open next Monday as well. By law, the tentative or the public hearing needs to be closed that night. So we'll take any of the comments tonight, any comments throughout the week as well. And as the mayor said, my email, or you can email any of the board members. At that point, we have a special work session, which is going to be Saturday the 25th at 8:30, and then a special meeting to adopt the budget on the 27th. That is just a quick overview. A lot of work was put into this budget. Thank you to all the department heads. They did a fantastic job of going over their lines. Thank you, Ryan Rueda. Appreciate your help on this, and looking for any feedback.
Thank you. I'll open the question. Any questions from the board, please? No? Any questions from the public that are on the Zoom app?
Hey, this is Mike Dardano. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Mike. Good evening.
Hi, everyone.
Right.
Sorry I'm not on video. The place is a mess, so I'll get yelled at by my wife. And we don't want that. I have two questions for right now.
Guy said, this is a resident. He's asking a question. He goes, sorry, I'm not on video, but my place is a mess and I'll get yelled at by my wife.
Yeah, put that on the record. Okay. Sorry. So it's a two-part question. First is regarding the budget for last year, and then, of course, projecting out for this year. Sales taxes probably, I would guess, not going to make for last year's budget because of what's happened in March, April, and probably May. The hotel at $110,000 for last year didn't happen. And I actually spoke with my friend who works at the hotel, and there's so many factors involved with that, especially with what's going to happen with travel and the economy and whatnot, that they're probably not going to be up to snuff with bookings until the fall. So does it make sense to look at numbers that you have in the budget now for this current budget for sales tax and for the hotel? Should those be dialed down a bit just because I don't want to be going in the wrong direction? It's just a thought that I saw those numbers.
So can I first just suggest to people, I think David took everybody off mute, but while one person is talking, if everybody else could go on mute and just the person who's talking be off mute, that would help. So sorry, Mike, you had asked if it's the right thing to do to leave the numbers in the budget when we know we're not going to be able to achieve them on the sales tax and hotel revenue.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say for certain, like 100% we're not going to achieve it, but given the factors involved with the economy and the virus, and even with tourism, you know, how many people are going to cancel things because they don't want to come to New York, you know, for who knows how long. It's not pessimistic. It's just trying to be realistic.
Oh, yeah, sure, right.
So that's why I brought it up, because it's something that we can address. There's other stuff that I know has to happen regardless, but something that we could look at. I don't know if there's other revenue sources, but I just think it's something that you want to look at very closely.
I'll step in and kind of talk about both of those issues a little bit. In regards to the sales tax, that is absolutely something that we are worried about for this year and next year.
No,
One of the-
Suzanne.
Something that we have going for us as of right now is that in last year's budget, we did not increase significantly the sales tax, and Westchester County increased by 1%. So that does provide a little bit of leeway right there. In regards to the hotel tax put in for the $110,000 was never meant to be for the full year. We anticipated the hotel being open, but only for a portion of the year. I left that the same in the tentative budget, considering that we don't know what's going to happen. We do expect it to open very soon. We don't expect it to be obviously packed. We know that the U.S. Open was canceled or pushed back as of right now, so some of those anticipated revenues probably won't be there. But in regards to the hotel, I think it's still a decent number as a plug-in until we get a little bit more data once it opens up and see who's going to be there.
If I could just add, when we had a conference call last week specifically about village budgets, someone on County Exec Latimer's team suggested to us, or not suggested, but said, when you go into this budget, the one that we're working on now, make believe that you don't get a sales tax from the county. And that's probably the most realistic way that we can approach this budget, is that we're not going to get any type of sales revenue that's going to matter at this point.
Right.
We just don't know, though. We just don't know, Mike. I mean, I think one thing that sort of not works in our favor is that the way our budget is structured, the year that it runs, our budget that we're in now is getting slammed for March, April, and May. So we're hoping, I mean, there's that thought in the back of our minds, or in my mind, that the back end of the budget that we're working on might start to see a rise in revenue. Not dramatic, but I believe, listening to what the experts are telling us, that there will be an increase in revenue as the economy slowly gets back on its feet. I mean, listen to Governor Cuomo and County Exec Latimer. It's going to be a gradual introduction of the workforce back into the business world, but we'll see. I mean, I'm thinking, I'm hanging on to what Dr. Fauci said last night, is we're going to reevaluate come May 1st. So what he's telling me is we still have another 2 weeks of what we're going through right now.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe it makes sense for us to, especially as we get to May 1st, to then see, okay, what can we do as a community regarding the government and the private sector, regarding businesses, to ramp up as fast as we can, whatever that is, some kind of a plan that we can implement, whether it be additional social media promotions or whatever, some kind of thing that we do to let people know that we're open for business, and to try as best we can to help the local businesses, because I'm speaking to all of them, around the country and also here, a lot of them are just freaked out. They're just freaked out, and they're really worried they're not going to be able to ramp up. So that might be, we've talked about this before, a public-private partnership brain trust, but I think maybe we plan on that now. Maybe I'll talk to Karina and see if we can come up with some ideas and present them to you guys at the board, and some kind of rollout that we can all do.
Yeah, I mean,
help our businesses.
Any bulletins that I get from the state regarding small business owners, I forward to Karina for her to distribute to her chamber members. And some of that information includes, obtaining small business loans. So, short of that, I know I've distributed some of that information to some of the local businesses myself, because I'm in the area and I just happen to have it with me. And it's going to be a process that I believe they're going to need help with, so hopefully they'll lean on the chamber to guide them through that.
Yeah, we can
as
say
well-
open for business, who's
Absolutely.
open for business and things of that nature.
Yeah.
There's stuff we can do. And then maybe we get what I could call a social media hit team of different high profile individuals within the village to then share that on their social. That would be cool, to be able to say, okay, XYZ here, this is an important post to talk about who's open. Would you mind sharing that? Whether, and I know some of the trustees have their own Facebook pages, and that would be great. Something like that we could, as the chamber, we can automatically just get it out to that hit team, and they spread it out amongst their channels, so they could help spread the word.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Anyone else? No questions, comments? Anyone on the board? Well, that being none, I'm going to make a motion to keep this public hearing open on the tentative budget for year June 1, 2020 through March 31, 2021. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Trustee Andino.
In favor?
Trustee Lang.
In favor.
Trustee Howell.
In favor.
Trustee Lee.
In favor.
Mayor Luise.
In favor. And again, I'll remind our residents that we will have another special meeting a week from tonight on the budget. Which will bring us to the adoption of minutes of the March 9th, 2020 meeting, which, as was said earlier, boy, that seems like such a long time ago when we were living a normal life. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second, please?
Second.
Trustee Andino.
In favor?
Trustee Lang.
In favor.
Trustee Howell.
In favor.
Trustee Lee.
In favor.
Mayor Luise.
In favor. Well, normally we'd ask, this would be the first opportunity for anyone to address the board on any agenda items. Do we have anyone that would like to speak to the board at this time? David, nobody knocking on the door?
No?
Okay. Well, then I'll bring us to resolutions, and resolution number 1 is authorize setting a public hearing for April 27th, 2020 to consider a proposed local law repealing local law number 3 of 2019, which authorized a for year ending 2021 budget to exceed the New York State tax cap. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Andino.
In favor?
I'm sorry. Trustee Andino.
You can't hear me?
Trustee Lang.
I can
In favor.
Trustee Howell.
In favor.
Trustee Lee.
In favor.
Mayor Luise.
In favor. And that'll bring us to resolution number 2, which is authorizing the Tuckahoe Beautification Association to perform work at the Tuckahoe Community Center and Library. Improvements which will include a new sidewalk, pavers, and brick facing, with contractor and work to be approved by the village administrator. Before I ask for a motion, I'd just like to provide the residents with a little background. The Beautification Committee has received a generous grant which will provide all this work to be done at no cost to the village. They are using a quality product known as Unilock. It's going to look really nice. I've seen some of the product that they're considering, so looking forward to this one once it gets done. So do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Andino.
In favor.
Trustee Lang.
In favor.
Trustee Howell.
In favor.
Trustee Lee.
In favor.
Mayor Luise.
In favor. And resolution number 3 is proclaiming April 24th, 2020 as Arbor Day in the village of Tuckahoe. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Trustee Andino.
In favor.
Trustee Lang.
In favor.
Trustee Howell.
In favor.
Trustee Lee.
In favor.
Mayor Luise.
In favor. And resolution number 4 is authorizing the approval of vouchers in the amount of $423,977.62. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Andino.
In favor.
Trustee Lang.
In favor.
Trustee Howell.
In favor.
Trustee Lee.
In favor.
Mayor Luise.
In favor. And this will bring us up to our discussion items. And tonight's discussion is going to center around modifications to the sanitation collection, including rear, boy, my eyes going, rear bulk, rear yard pickup, bulk, metal, and leaf collections. I guess I would ask Frank DeMarco if he'd want to come up and speak on this, or you want to leave it to me?
Why don't we do it together?
Okay. Well, I will defer to the superintendent first.
Listen, we're looking to make some changes along the way. Many municipalities have made the move to stop rear yard garbage pickup and some other things along the way. Vacuuming leaves. Greenberg has ceased vacuuming leaves. Curbside pickup for food scrap recycling. Possibly eliminating garbage for a day during the week and extending the recycling pickup, because realistically, my beliefs and many other municipalities believe that if you do look into your garbage weekly, probably 80% of what's in there is recyclable. So the need to pick up garbage twice a week is possibly something to think about. Again, these are all considerations. Most important to me, besides recycling, is the health of my men. Right now, during the winter months, when it's icing conditions, they're going behind homes to collect garbage and bring them out to the front. Most of the time, we're out there before residents even get a chance to maintain their walkways, their steps. We start at 6:30 in the morning, so it is a dangerous situation for the men, and I really don't want them to get hurt. So it's something to consider. I'll take any questions.
Okay.
Frank, would that eliminate, say perhaps someone has their garbage at the bottom of their driveway? Would you, will the workers go down to the driveway to retrieve the garbage, or will they be, the resident be asked to bring it to the curb?
We're fair. We're looking to work with everybody, especially seniors. We do take into consideration that, many seniors can't bring the garbage to the curbside. I ask that those that can't make that move or change, that they talk to me, and we'll work it out one way or another.
Right, could you just talk a little bit about what switching the leaf collection to bags or compost in place, what that would mean in terms of any benefits for budget-wise?
What many municipalities are doing, they're promoting mulching in place. taking their leaves and mulching them in place. It's the same theory as love them and leave them, which has been started in Greenberg. Greenberg and many other municipalities, I'm just using Greenberg as an example, are not vacuuming and picking up leaves. They do pick up leaves in bags. We will not cease their yard waste pickup, which is weekly. We just will probably ask that either mulch them in place or put them in bags.
Yeah. But in terms of the leaf truck, you know, that would be a savings for the village, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, could you repeat
Not
that?
having to, yeah, not having to maintain that truck that we use for leaf pickup.
Yeah, there were two vacuum trucks that we use, and each vacuum truck is followed by a pickup truck, I'm sorry, a dump truck that tows it, that tows the vacuum machine. But each combination of truck and vacuum machine is manned by 3 men each. So that's a combination of 6 men.
Mhm.
A total of about 2.5 months of the year.
Thanks.
Thank you, Frank. Well, I'm a big proponent of mulch in place. And it's such common sense. Probably residents know by now that one of my big pet peeves is leaf blowers, especially when they're being used when they're not supposed to be being used. Just a personal observation, what I saw yesterday, landscaper pulls up, first thing he does, what does he do? He takes out that leaf blower, creates a wonderful dust cloud, collecting leaves that been sitting underneath these bushes since the fall. For the life of me, I don't understand that. This guy didn't even mow the lawn because they don't have to be mowed. So I told him in so many words that come June 1st, you better find something else to do with that leaf blower. But that, again, that's just my personal opinion. The metal thing, I think, is a great idea, especially that we have locals from other municipalities that seem to cruise the village prior to our DPW picking up that metal, and therefore we're losing that money, however much it may be, and taking that metal to be recycled. So I think these are some great ideas, Frank, and we welcome public comment on this as well. But it's something that we're definitely going to be looking into, especially as Frank mentioned, that recycling will be playing a vital role in how we're going to collect our garbage moving forward. So if we take advantage of the recycling programs that are now here in place in the village, we can go down to 1 day of pickup on the household trash. But as I said, we welcome comments from our residents about what we're proposing or thinking about doing.
I just want to say that, you know, many of these initiatives are not new, and I'm not the one that are making these up. They are being used by many other municipalities and very successful. So I will also do research as we get input from everybody else.
Okay, great.
And could I say, Mayor, that as challenging as times are for us right now, I think this is a good opportunity for us to look at more innovative and efficient ways of doing things. So it's pushing everyone, the private sector, government. So, you know, this is good because it sort of forces us to think outside the box.
Sure does.
Like this meeting.
Got that right. All right, so with that,
Mayor?
and any
Mayor,
other
I just
comments?
Yes, Mayor, I
Yes.
just wanted to say, so the community knows, nobody's job is getting eliminated from DPW because of this.
No. I think Frank will.
I won't let it happen.
There'll be more tasks for, more productive tasks for the crew to undertake by not having 6 men walking around the village behind this big vacuum cleaner. Especially in light of the fact when invariably these leaves pile up in the street, they get blown all over the street. So you know what? It's no big deal. Mulch them in place, have your landscaper bag them or put them in a plastic garbage can, and our guys will take care of that for you every Thursday.
You know, because we're adding, I just want to say that because we're eliminating some initiatives, we will be adding others that are more sustainable. So I just want everybody to know that. And it's not a matter of losing manpower, but, you know, being more constructive.
Yeah, like maybe picking up the food scrapping.
Right now, it's very successful, doing well, right?
I make a lot of
Do that
trips.
curbside.
It became a game for me and a neighbor. Who can more than the other?
Now, Frank, can I ask you a question about the textiles? Is that those are items that just get recycled? It's not that they take those pants or whatever the case may be and then reuse them, right? They shred them back.
They actually, they do. They reuse them. They reuse the clothing. They fix them. They put buttons
they
on them.
do?
They fix
Okay.
the holes. They sell them for pennies. But we make money on textiles. For every pound, we make money on that.
Interesting.
So we the village, with the 2 containers that we have,
Okay.
we're supposed to be making a profit on them also.
Yeah, and so I just haven't been by there, Frank, but I know some other places have been having trouble with people just dumping a bunch of stuff as everybody's cleaning out their houses during this quarantine. So have ours been manageable, I guess?
We might ask for another container there at the library. It's needed.
Yeah.
We're just dumping clothes like crazy. But, you know, we could always pick that up once a week as well. A lot of other municipalities are taking that on.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
Mike Giordano, I think it's a great idea, Frank. I've always, when I first moved here, I always thought it was funny that we were vacuuming up leaves. You know, from the old school where you just mow them in place and just leave them back when we were young and we burned them, but that's a whole other issue. But mulching in place, I think, and given our mission with the environmental committee, I think that would be a wonderful thing that we could also promote to the residents once whatever decided upon is decided upon. So I think it's a great idea and a better allocation of resources for us.
I agree, Mike.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, that'll bring us to departmental reports to the board, and I will start with our Chief of Police, John Costanzo.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Just to talk about some of the things that have happened since COVID has hit our community, calls for service-wise, particularly crime rate. The good news, and if there's any silver lining, is that the crime rate has gone down considerably. We have not had many issues. Criminal activity has slowed down quite a bit. So that has been maybe one of the only pluses in this terrible pandemic that has hit us. We have been working hard on social distancing complaints, which have not, quite frankly, been many. For the most part, our citizens are adhering to the social distancing rules, and the biggest problem is usually down by the bicycle path on the Bronx River Reservation, which we all know is county property. Our members are trying to address the issue on the outskirts of the property. We have not gone into the parks because, quite honestly, with the population down there, driving into the park may create a greater hazard than what's going on in there. But we have been addressing some minor issues with social distancing. Our young people, for the most part, I have to commend them. They are behaving, and on our parks, the village parks, have really not been much of an issue. And when they do need a little bit of a reminder from our staff, everyone has been receiving it very well. There have not been any problems. We have seen a tremendous uptick in our medical aided cases, particularly COVID-related cases with symptoms or confirmed cases. Just in the last 2 weeks, we had over 21 COVID cases. My hats and off and special recognition to EVAC and other EMS providers in these instances. They are doing all the heavy lifting, going into these cases with PPE and addressing the issue. And unfortunately as well, we also had some dealing with some removal of people that have expired from their homes. And, my staff has been helping along with the medical examiners as well as some local funeral homes. My staff has been on 12-hour shifts since April 1st. We moved to 12-hour shifts in order to address some potential shortfalls in manpower and also to help with in stopping the spread of the disease from shift to shift and not having people show up to as many days. They are working, however, working more hours. They are coming to the job less often. And we believe that has been working with some other changes in our protocols. We do have one member who has been affected by the COVID virus. He is recovering. Unfortunately, his family is also affected. And so we are praying and hoping for not only his speedy recovery, but that as well as his family's. I have to say thank you to our support staff here, Mark Salvati and Elliot Maldonado. They have been working 7 days a week to keep our department vehicles and facilities sanitized. They are doing an unbelievable job. Part of the reasons why we are doing so well health-wise is because of their hard work and efforts. So very special thanks to Mark Salvati and Elliot Maldonado, as well as the whole police department. When you talk about the fact that our members may be affected, but we talk about their families as well and how it's hitting them. We have some members who have small toddlers and infants at home. We have some members whose wives are pregnant. So we're going through some extreme precautions to make sure that they're not bringing this disease home to their families, and certainly the anxiety that these families are experiencing. So it's not only our members, but it's the families as well. And I can't thank all of them enough from the bottom of my heart. I want to thank some of our businesses and our private citizens who have stepped up in helping us to provide some personal protective equipment. They have really come and met some of the shortfalls that we had in getting some cleaning products and some personal protective equipment. I have a long list, and I have thanked them and have sent notices out. I don't want to start naming names because I'm afraid that I'm going to leave some out. But it's been a tremendous outpouring from our community, and I just want to say thank you. And finally, we have lost some of our citizens, one who happened to be at the last meeting. So my heart goes out to anyone who's lost a family member, a friend, a loved one. And particularly, I want to say and send our condolences to the Yonkers Police Department. They lost Detective William Sullivan this week. Detective Sullivan was an outstanding police officer, well known throughout the county, and I believe the first casualty of COVID that has affected law enforcement in this county. So our condolences to them. So, and that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief, I just had one quick question. We were worried about an uptick in domestics. Has that been the case?
So I don't want to jinx it, but we have been fortunate in that regard to date, and we're very thankful for that. But no, we have not yet seen an uptick in domestic violence cases in the village.
That's great. Good to hear. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other comments for the chief? Okay, that'll bring us to Mr. Frank DeMarco, our Superintendent of Public Works. Frank, you're back up again.
Okay. Well, I want to first thank the outpouring of support from everybody, residents, businesses, organizations, for all their support, for their lunches, their protective equipment that they've supplied us with. We were running low on masks and other things, and there was a big outcry on their support as well. But most importantly, from a lot of the men that work out there. They're posting signs on their front door showing support to DPW, which hit the heart of most of my men at the department. So I want to thank them for them as well. You know, I want to thank the police department, fire department, EMS for really just doing a fantastic job. I mean, really, without them, where would we be today? Where would we be? Thank you. Thank you, John. DPW remains healthy. Luckily, you know, DPW department, they work collaboratively, they work together. They're used to working in groups. So, you know, to separate them and create that social distancing was a little difficult, but challenging. It's working. We have a healthy staff. We're maintaining cleanliness. At the end of the day, we spend hours just cleaning the trucks, wiping down the steering wheels, and everything that's necessary to keep the men and the staff healthy. But it's very difficult for us. We're staggering shifts. We're trying to keep them apart. I have them working in twos and minimizing the amount of groups that they're working together as. But like I said, you know, thank God that everybody right now is healthy and doing well.
It's good to hear.
Remaining
Very
working.
good to hear.
I just want to say a couple of things that's going on in the village. I just want to bring everybody up to date. Winter Hill, the project that I said was going to be paving for the past year and a half, has finally been paved. We took advantage of the downtime and did some electrical work on Winter Hill. We had to change over some decorative lampposts. So it gave us the opportunity to do that while we were waiting for the road to get paved. But it looks amazing and everything came out really well. We finally got to pave some of Main Street with Westchester County and couldn't really pave the rest of it because Con Edison was still needs to continue to do their gas hookups. The inability to go into the apartments to ignite their gas once the gas is switched over created a problem for Con Edison. So during this epidemic, they need to take some time and see when they could get back into these apartments and complete the work. So until then, the balance of Main Street will not be paved. We're taking advantage of the downtime and the residents staying at home, and especially with the efforts of the Beautification Committee and Susan Chiamara and those that had granted some money for us to do a lot of this work. We're taking advantage of, like Greg said, doing the steps in the library, the community center, the platform area and pavers, and also the handicap ramp, which is much needed work that has just deteriorated over the years. So we're taking advantage of that. We're also working at the Lower Lake Avenue parking lot, which has been a dangerous lot over the years. The inability to properly park and the island needed curbing. We're gonna put some flowers there as well. We've also installed decorative light fixtures that will be installed there also, and taking advantage of repairing a lot of the pavement there, and the stormwater catch basin that was there had deteriorated as well. So we're getting all this work done and hopefully completed within the next couple of weeks. And that's all I really have. But I just wish everybody stay healthy and safe.
Thank you, Frank. Camille, do you have anything for us?
I have no report, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Gersten, Gary, I know you're on the line. Do you have anything for us?
I'm here, nothing on my end.
Okay, thank you. Mr.
Thank
Burke?
I do have some items. I believe that the board will get to most of them, but I just wanted to give an update on Village Hall. We are still closed and scheduled to be closed through this Friday. I think later on this week, we'll make a determination if we want to extend Village Hall being closed. At this point, our Village Hall staff is doing a great job regards to social distancing, but also keeping departments open. If anyone needs anything, we're available via email. You can always leave a voicemail and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So we are fully functioning here, even without the doors being open. And the second thing I wanted to mention, which is extremely important, is the census is out there. And you should have filled it out. You should go online and fill it out. It means real dollars for the village of Tuckahoe. We had a conversation a little earlier about sales tax. When it comes to sales tax apportionment from Westchester County, it's all about population. So we need to really do a good job. Email was sent out last week in regards to it, but we just need to tell everybody we can to get online, fill out the census. The more people that do it, the less, census workers are going to have to knock on doors at some point. We don't necessarily want that. So just as a reminder, get out there and, tell everyone, fill out your census.
David, do you have an idea of what our response rate is so far?
It was in the mid 40s as of late last week. I should get an email update in the next couple of days from the Westchester County. Not the worst rate in the county, but far from the best.
And David, could you tell everyone how much per person in terms of money that we're talking about, like real money?
It's estimated between $2,500 and $3,000 per person per year in lost funding from federal sources, and then the sales tax. So that's a lot of money per person when you think about writing your tax bill in June. Think about that.
And again, it's very, very easy to do this online. If you can't do it online, then by all means, please do it via mail.
Yeah.
And as David said, we don't want to put these people at risk knocking on your door. So it's easy, it's confidential. They're not using that information for anything other than the census.
And I think Jackie put up on the website, there's a phone number, so you could do it by phone too if you don't have a computer.
Okay, great. Can't make it any easier, folks. Okay, that'll bring us up to some miscellaneous business. As mentioned earlier, our budget hearing will continue next Monday, April 20th at 7 p.m. And I am sure it's going to be on the same platform that we're utilizing now. We have our budget work session scheduled for Saturday, April 25th at 8:30 a.m. at the community center. Safe social distancing will be practiced, of course. And that hearing is open to the public. Okay? But of course, we will strictly enforce the social distancing guidelines. The next village board meeting is scheduled for April 27th at 7 p.m. That is when we will have the adoption of the budget. And with that, it'll bring us to our Board of Trustees member reports, and I'm going to begin with Trustee Andino.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to start by reiterating what others have said and offer my condolences to those who've lost loved ones, and also acknowledge that there are people who are living with COVID that are really suffering. So I want to acknowledge Glenn Bolito and Tommy Logan, who is a resident. And I did get the okay from his family to state that he passed away. One of the things that we talked about, the board talked about at our board session, our work session last week, was possibly to have some type of memorial for those who have had loved ones who've passed on, that we made to either through a website, something virtual, but we haven't solidified anything in particular. But if the public has any ideas or would like that, it would be good if you could contact us. You can contact anyone at Village Hall. You can email, call, or contact one of the board members. We just want to make sure that you realize that we have you on our minds and our hearts, and if there's anything that might help ease the pain a little bit, maybe sometimes this might be the thing. I also would like to read a letter that the board chair for the library wrote, thanking the board, the library staff who not, they don't miss a beat. You know, we have this pandemic, the library has to close, and the library programs are still as robust as they always were. So I'm going to read the letter, and then I'd like to ask our very own Elaine Provenzano, our librarian, to take us through some of the library events that we have going. You know, we have a lot of virtual events, and innovation has been born out of this pandemic. So Ginger Crosby, Library Board President, says, I would like to have the staff at the library acknowledged for the fantastic job they have done during this difficult time. Swadish, Elaine, Katie, and Jessica have been working very hard learning new technology in order to continue offering programs to the community. They would have several conference calls a day discussing what to offer and how to do it. Their efforts have paid off, and they sure have. They rose to the challenge and have received wonderful feedback on the range of programs being offered for adults and children. And I just, like, this could have been a time that the library staff says, well, we could do, the library's closed. Not them. They've had every opportunity to be able to still engage the community. This is a time where people are at home, sometimes alone, and mental health issues are on the rise. So, thank you so much, Elaine, for that. And thank you to Swadish, and thank you to the board. The library in Tuckahoe totally rocks.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Ginger, Elaine, I'll let you do the report today.
Thank you, Ginger, for those beautiful, beautiful words. It's our pleasure. We're just to reiterate what everybody else has said, we're so grateful to what everybody in the village is doing. And, as a resident here, I'm just so grateful to all of you, the administration, the DPW, the police, all of you on the board. Thank you for what everybody is doing. And anything that we could do on our part, just please let us know. And as I said, we've been trying to have this virtual library. We got it off the ground pretty quickly. And I think everybody's enjoying it. Camille, I saw you this morning at my program, the sing-along.
It was wonderful, yes.
So we're trying to keep normal. I think it's reassuring, especially for the little ones, to know on Tuesdays and Fridays we have story time at the same time. And it certainly lifts up my heart. And for the adults too, we start our adult programs. And so I'm going to tell you what we've got through the end of April. And we have our ear to the ground and are continuing to plan, and with a lot of flexibility and with your input. So the library is offering the following virtual programs through the end of April. And you can register on our online calendar and you'll be sent an invite. So the children's programs, we have our ongoing Baby Time, which is on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. for ages 0 and 2. And we have our Kids Story Time on Fridays at 11 a.m., ages 2 to 5. We have pre-K yoga this week, and that's Thursday, that's ages 2 to 5. And that's Thursday, April 16th at 11 a.m. And for ages 6 to 10, we have kids yoga, Thursday, April 16th at 4 p.m. On Saturday, we have Let's Pretend with Miss Nora, and that's Saturday the 18th at 11 a.m. We have a teen art class next Tuesday, Still Life with Jessica Schifoletti. That's Tuesday the 21st at 1 p.m. For adults, we have our adult yoga program, April 15th and 29th at 9 a.m. and April 23rd at 5:30 p.m. And then we have online cooking with Harmeet, Thursday, April 16th at 6:30 p.m. Join Harmeet as he cooks his favorite comfort food, Garwala Murg, and I hope I'm saying this right, home-style Indian chicken. This recipe is simple to make and full of flavors. We're doing it on Zoom, and when you register, we have the ingredients there. So check that out. We have online crochet, April 20th at 1 p.m., and I just ordered my crochet needle from my hook from Amazon Prime, so I could finally learn to do that. We have after work hours online Qigong exercises with Shifu Alex Lamas. That's Tuesday, April 21st at 5:30 p.m. And Erin is back taking care of business Silent Spring with Miss Erin. And that's for ages 7 to adult. And that's Wednesday, April 22nd at 6:30 p.m. So any of you have come to Erin's B program, she's going to do follow-up. We have a free health lecture, online COVID-19 with Somesh Kaushik, Ayurvedic and naturopathic physician. He's going to be talking about the pandemic and some things that you can do about it. And then we have online baking class with Trustee O'Meara, and that's Tuesday, April 28th at 6:30 p.m. And she's going to show you how to bake her almond coconut cake and blueberry crumb muffins online. And we all know, if you've ever been to any of her cooking programs, how delicious that will be. So check that out. And then finally, we have an online lecture. This was a postponed program for March, and we rescheduled it for Wednesday, April 29th. That's the Local Women Leading the Way, the Women's Suffrage Movement. Wednesday, April 29th at 6:30 p.m. And I wanted to encourage you to please go to our website, because we have all of we are able to, you can reach us through our website. We have an email, we have phone, and we have everything everything's being rerouted. So we will get your message and we will get back to you. We also have a lot of resources. Go onto the tabs for teens, children's, and adults and see the resources that we've completed. And any questions that you have, please reach out to us. And thank you again for all that you're doing.
So I am nominating you to do my report every month. You're much better than I do.
So let me thank everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I also want to let everyone know the ECAP hours have been adjusted somewhat. They were open every day, Monday through Friday, and they had staff who had to go out and be quarantined, so the staff was minimized. So we are keeping it's open daily 8 to 10 a.m. for the daily school lunch distribution. So there are still, there's a staff there that's able to hand out the lunch for the students. But it's not open to the public on Tuesdays and Fridays. It's open on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 10 to 2 for the food pantry. So there's food there every day for anyone who needs it. There's also a delivery to 4 Union daily between 10:30 and 11 for the senior union.
Good, excellent.
So that's good information. I mentioned earlier that the mental health issues are on the rise due to this pandemic. So I want to offer a phone number that the governor has provided at his briefings. These are a number for you to be able to access counselors to help guide you through this crisis. The number, and I could ask Camille if you could record the number in the minutes. It's for free mental health services, and the number is 844-863-9314. I'd just like to really encourage people to use the number. There have been 20,000 plus mental health professionals who have volunteered their time to be able to offer support to those of us who need it during this time. We should not be ashamed to use it. That's it from me, Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Lang.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, not much on reports. I just wanted to, reiterate what the other folks said. I want to recognize all the police, firefighters, our DPW, and most of all, our healthcare workers for not missing a beat during this troubling time. While most of us are home caring for ourselves and our family members, all the while out of harm's way, the people I just mentioned are not afforded that same sense of security. They risk their health and wellness they risk their health and wellness of themselves and their family members every day when they leave their homes. So a true heartfelt thank you to all of you. And to those who've lost family members, our prayers are with you, and we're here for you. You guys know that each and every one of our members on this board care for every single resident, and I just I feel terrible for our losses, and we're here for you. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Trustee Howell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as everyone else has said, I would like to just reiterate to thank everyone at the village, the police, the DPW, the staff who is keeping the village running. We really appreciate all that great work, and condolences go out to everybody who has experienced death in their family or friend in this time. It's truly an unprecedented time. To just reiterate something that David Marr said, we do have a group that's being run through New Road Runners. We're taking donations and coordinating getting food out to all of the healthcare workers in the area. So it covers New Rochelle, Eastchester, Tuckahoe, even to some places in Yonkers. So I'll put that up on my Facebook site for anyone who wants to contribute to that. As you can imagine, things are a little slow on the planning and zoning front. There are not things that are up on the docket for us to meet about. But since we are still looking for people to put applications in for, especially for the planning board, I thought it'd be a good idea to host a Facebook Live session sometime in the next 2 weeks. That covers basically the 101 of what a planning and zoning board does. It'll allow some people to who might be interested in the village a time to ask questions and get a bit more educated. It's a really extraordinarily important position for the village. As a lot of people have been doing in this time, we can use it to get better acquainted with those pieces of the village government. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Lee?
I also want to send my condolences to all the families who have lost a loved one. And for those who are fighting, just keep fighting. You can get through this. We're praying for you. One of our members of the senior center, her son had passed away due to the virus. So our deepest condolences go out to her and her family. We are happy to say that to our knowledge, none of our senior citizens from the center have been affected by this virus. We have to give a big thanks to the Chinese community of East Bronco for the generous donation of masks for our senior citizens, as well as donating to the police department. And lastly, a huge thank you to Jennifer Vettermile for keeping in close contact with all the members. A lot of them are alone. She calls every week. She speaks to them. She makes sure everybody is doing okay. If they need anything, between herself and I, we can get stuff to them. Jennifer, along with other senior organizations and the community fund, are exploring ways to set up friendly call programs to touch base with the seniors and have conversation during this time. Because mental health, like Omar said, is a big concern. The senior center will remain closed until further notice. The Senior Citizens Council 50th anniversary gala is postponed until October 17th. And again, I would like to give a huge thank you to our police department, fire department, EMS, DPW, and to all the members of our community. Stay healthy and be safe. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I will keep my remarks brief. As Trustee Elmira Andino mentioned earlier, what we've done following the lead of the governor and the county exec, last week we lowered the flag at Village Hall to half staff to commemorate the lives that are lost here in the village and across the nation. So when you see that flag at half mast as you drive by Village Hall, think about those people who have passed. This Wednesday, I will continue with my virtual mayor's meeting beginning at 10 o'clock. once again through the same platform that we're utilizing tonight, which is Zoom. Mr. Burke will put up the information 10 minutes prior to 10 o'clock so that you can log in and we can have a conversation on Wednesday beginning at 10 a.m. I would be terribly remiss if I don't also thank the members of our police department, Department of Public Works, the employees at Village Hall, our food establishments here in the village. You know, I can't say enough. Having that luxury of staying home, you don't have that luxury, and realizing what you're facing out there. Excuse me. Not knowing where it's going to come from, as you know, as they say, the invisible enemy. It's the invisible enemy, unfortunately. So thank you for what each and every one of you do to keep this village running, to keep this village safe, and to keep us going. And lastly, what I'd like to do before I adjourn this meeting is I would like to observe a moment of silence for those Tuckahoe residents that we've lost, friends, family, of course, as was mentioned earlier, Glenn Bolito. There's just way too many people that have lost their lives in so short a period of time. And there isn't one of us in this room that doesn't know somebody that's been affected by this. So if I may ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. And with that, I'm going to second opportunity for anyone to address the board. I don't think there is anybody out there at this point in time. So with that, I make a motion to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Until next Monday night at 7 p.m., please, Tuckahoe, be safe. Maintain safe social distancing. See you next Monday.
Bye, everyone.
Good night,
Good night, everyone. Good night. Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Take care.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.